A stop that we have coming up this Monday in the world of WWE is Monday Night Raw, the World Championship on the line. Seth Rollins against the most deserving contender for a World Championship opportunity, Jinder Mahal. And now, Brandon, yourself, myself, we may say he's maybe not the most deserving contender, but the thing about the world of professional wrestling is it's all subjective. It's not about wins and losses. This isn't about regular sport like you're used to. Even in regular sport, let's be fair. Even in regular sport, a lot of it has to do not necessarily with fairness, but with TV ratings and eyeballs. So even in legitimate sport, but WWE is not legitimate sport. It's not even pretending to be. I mean, who deserves anything, right, in the world of WWE? Well, yeah. Tony Khan thinks that people deserve things, and he spouted out this week on Twitter, not so happy. I think it all started with a USA Network tweet that said something about a cage match score, referring to a website which keeps the databases, the one that keeps 6-star, 5-star matches all in order, something WWE doesn't necessarily concern themselves too much with. And Tony Khan took exception, saying that fans thought outrage in the fact that Hook and Samoa Joe, which is going to happen next week on Dynamite, are contending for a championship in his program, but yet don't find outrage in Jinder Mahal and Seth Rollins. Everybody told him, hey, calm it down. You got Eric Bischoff over here calling him a clown, and then instead of shutting up, he then goes after Eric Bischoff. Jinder Mahal finds fun in it. Everybody's finding fun in what Tony Khan's doing. And in fact, I think Jinder Mahal said, "What is a hook?" But what is your make of Tony Khan and his social media rampage, and the fact that he finds it embarrassing and crazy that somebody like Jinder Mahal, who hasn't won a match in over a year, is in line for a championship match on Monday Night Raw?
Well, first off, I'm just going to say this. Tony Khan is he's kind of a child when it comes to social media. Like, he doesn't know how to use it, apparently. Like, I think Bully Ray said something to the regards of, if someone needs to pretty much like tell him to turn his phone over, I guess is what I was reading different things online, in the last 24 hours. And it was something to that extent where it's like Tony's pretty much telling Tony Khan, stop interacting, like just post positive things and move on. Now, yeah. I did find it funny that Randy Orton's not the most active tweeter or poster now on X, but I found it interesting that he liked a particular tweet that said, I don't ever want to hear that all Tony Khan does is buy talent and doesn't make stars. Today he made a megastar out of Jinder Mahal, Booker of the Year.
Everybody's got their eyes on that match now.
Well, yeah, and here's the thing. Like Randy Orton's one of those people where we've all seen it, where some people may think some of the stuff he likes is controversial, whatever. I don't really care. People can like whatever the hell they want. I really don't give a crap, as long as it's not doing any damage or harm to any people. But I just thought that was funny. I saw that as a like when I was looking. I was kind of doing some research before the show, and I saw that. I'm like, yeah, that's about right. And you guys, as I say, our listeners, our viewers, all of our fans in the Heel to the Face fandom, they know how I feel about Eric Bischoff. I've quoted him many times, or cited him, I guess, many times on his 83 Weeks podcast, different things that he's done over the years. So if I have to lean one way or the other, I think it's kind of obvious. I'm going to lean Eric Bischoff on that one. I think Eric Bischoff took care of business. I felt like Tony Khan just came off as kind of like a crybaby. I felt like he just kind of he was whiny. I just like in I was reading different things online where I guess AEW wrestlers reached out to the quote unquote dirt sheet writers of the world and were supposedly saying, like they were frustrated or annoyed, quote unquote, I guess. So it's the whole thing is it's a bad look. I tell people all the time, social media can be used for really good things if you do it the right way. Tony Khan on the other side of it, he's making himself look really bad right now, and I think it's bad PR for AEW. I think Tony Khan should just stay off of social media and just unless it's going to be something positive. Otherwise, I don't want to hear anything from Tony Khan because just the way he is, I just think it's to me it's a little childish. So and here's the thing, Eric Bischoff was very Eric Bischoff was having fun with it. I could tell because I follow Eric Bischoff on social media, obviously, and I know how he is, and I know how he interacts on social media and on his podcast. So he was clearly having fun with it, and he was just I don't think he was taking it that serious. I think he was just making fun of the whole thing. So for me, I think Eric Bischoff came off, very, very much like just having fun with it. And Tony Khan seemed like he was, what's the word, triggered by the whole thing. So that's kind of where I'm at with it.
Is that Tony Khan, he claims AEW is successful, right? And I'm not going to dispute that claim. That it is successful. They go to arenas, they get pretty good crowds. AEW Revolution, Sting's final match pay-per-view, which is the next one on the card, is already sold over 15,000 tickets. They're expecting.
But that's a blip. That's a blip, Jared. That's a blip.
I understand that, but either way, I think AEW is successful. Obviously, success is
financially.
No. You don't think it's successful? You don't think it's in the black?
They're losing money. They're losing money because look at the attendance. We've talked on so many episodes since AEW.
No, I understand what you're saying with the attendance. I'm just saying you don't think the company at all. You don't think the company is more positive than negative when it comes to existing.
No, the existing part is a positive because it gives other wrestling fans, an outlet. It gives more wrestlers a job because I've always said that, I want to see more quality wrestlers employed, making a good living and doing things that they love. So that part of it, I'm completely, I love that part of it, and I respect Tony Khan for doing that. But if anyone's going to sit here and tell me that they're successful, that's just a farce to me. Like, look at the attendance. They're not selling out crowd. Like, the crowds are not coming. Like, we can get tickets to any show just about any time, and it's good seats because they don't, like, if you look and people show it because fans go to the shows, they show the non-camera side. There's nobody there. It's sad.
WWE had to do that for years as well. Things go through ups and downs. Companies go through ups and downs. From what I guess I'm trying to say is, if the company isn't successful, or if it is successful, I think it's the same way, right? Because if you're not successful, you try to hide that, right? I think one of those things you definitely try to. I was speaking with family members, and we were talking a lot about designer goods, right? If you've ever been through New York City, there's lots of designer goods that are on the street, and the people who are buying those quote unquote designer goods on the street corner that say Louis Vuitton and Gucci and all these things are the lower class people who are trying to hide that they're not as wealthy, right? But also, if you are wealthy, you are also not trying to go out and throw out that you're wealthy. So it's kind of twofold. So if AEW isn't successful, then Tony Khan is going to look really stupid if this company goes out because of what he's doing on social media and how he's going crazy about it. And people are like, look at you. You looked like a fool then, and you look even more foolish now if this company fails because you were screaming and yelling from the rooftop, and now it's not even a successful company. So what the hell were you talking about? And if it is successful, if AEW, the wheels are running, the car is working just fine, then you also don't need to, relay to your competition. I guess my thing is, Tony Khan, I don't get what he gets out of this. This isn't going to put more eyeballs on his company. What you do is you just stay the course. You stay the course, you do what you're doing, and more importantly, I don't hear a lot of super wealthy people talking smack to other super wealthy people often because they're in their own world and they're worried about their own thing. And especially too when the rivals, right? You're like, here's a good example. The NFL doesn't speak anything about the CFL or the UFL or any of these other things, right? They know what they are. They're worried about themselves. If somebody raised a hand, like a good example, right? WWE. If someone raised a hand at a press conference and goes, Shawn Michaels, did you realize that your upcoming event is on the same day as AEW? He's going to give the answer that Tony Khan should give, and that is, I didn't know that. What is AEW? What are you talking about? That's what Tony Khan needs to do. If I was Tony Khan right now and I wanted to be the big man and I wanted to be the billionaire and I want to be in the room with Vince and Triple H and all these people, I'm not going to go yell at them like some sort of Ryback over here. I'm going to just sit there and go, I'm sorry, I didn't know. WrestleMania is this weekend. We've got a lot of events going on with AEW. We got a big time pay-per-view coming up. Kind of a little focused on our stuff over here. Sorry, not really paying attention.
Wait,
what is he admitting he's watching Monday Night Raw for?
Did you mention Ryback? I don't think we've mentioned Ryback's name on a podcast in a long time. I just wanted to point it out. Go ahead. I thought that was funny.
Yeah, because he's ridiculous, right? Anytime you hear about Ryback on social media, he's being absurd. He's just saying stupid things that isn't giving him positive attention. If I was Tony Khan, here's what I'd be doing, right? You'd just be doing your thing, right? Promoting your company, doing your thing. And hell, you know what? If you put an AEW show on against a WWE pay-per-view or whatever you're doing, don't mention that you're doing it. The time that AEW and NXT went head to head, right? And NXT, quote unquote, WWE, you got them scared. You got them pulling out The Undertaker and John Cena to go up against you. What you do is you just take that in stride. You don't mention that they're going against you or they're trying to go one-on-one with you. You take that in stride. You hold it inside and go, look, I got them to fork over money to pull out The Undertaker and John Cena for a stupid NXT taping because I'm on Tuesday night. They know I exist. Now, my job is to not care that they know I exist and to pretend that they don't exist. Tony Khan calling out Jinder Mahal is the same as WCW back in the day when they called out that Mick Foley was winning the world title. You're only just taking more eyeballs and telling you're advertising WWE, because I can tell you what, Hook versus Samoa Joe's happening on Dynamite next week. AEW told me that. Hook versus Samoa Joe happening on Dynamite next week. WWE didn't tell me that. But I know that Jinder Mahal versus Seth Rollins is happening on Raw because two different companies told me that. Two companies told me about Raw. Only one company told me about Dynamite.
Well, Randy Orton
WWE ain't advertising Dynamite matches.
Well, yeah, Randy Orton picked up on it as well because in the early part of our show here tonight, we were just talking about that tweet about what Randy Orton was liking. So obviously, give Tony Khan some credit because he helped out WWE. And you know what? I'm actually on the Jinder Mahal topic. Like I'm actually happy for Jinder. I think Jinder doesn't get enough work, and I think he's been a kind of a punchline for a long time. Jinder Mahal is a quality worker. He looks great. He's got a good physique. I think he's decent on the mic. I think he does a lot of the things that you want. I just think that I feel like his stock has always been really low because of the whole 3MB thing back in the day. I feel like he's never been able to shake that like a Drew McIntyre has. So at the end of the day, I just want to see him. I know he's not going to win the match, on Monday night.
That's another thing. It's a Monday Night Raw. We're arguing over a championship match. This isn't like Jinder Mahal just got pushed to the front of the line for WrestleMania here. This is a Monday Night Raw. I've seen Jeff Hardy way back in the day, like before he had his own entrance, before he was ever a singles competitor, go up against The Undertaker on a Monday Night Raw for the WWE Championship. I've seen Bubba Ray Dudley and Devon do singles matches for WWE Championships. I've seen Los Lotharios members, right, go up against Roman Reigns in a squash match. It's a TV taping. Relax.
He's not going to win. Like, let's be honest. Jinder Mahal's not going to win the championship. At the end of the day, all I want to see happen for Jinder is he puts on a good show because people haven't really seen him in a while. So just put on a good match. And then, hopefully for him, that's a springboard for him to do some other things with his career because honestly, like people have forgotten about Jinder Mahal and they forget that he was a champion at one point up until recently when he had to remind everybody of that. So I just want to see him. I just want to see him put on a quality match, and that's it. And here's the thing: the only thing that could change the outcome of the match on Monday is if for some reason we see a cash in. I don't expect it to happen. But that's the only thing that could possibly change the outcome is maybe there's a cash in by Damian Priest. But besides that, I don't see Jinder winning.
It's crazy, right? I don't foresee Seth Rollins losing the championship. But, at the same time, we've seen this before around Royal Rumble season, WrestleMania season, where you have like a switchover for the championship. Meaning if Jinder Mahal wins the championship, that might just only sell Jinder Mahal versus Seth Rollins in a rematch at the Royal Rumble. Like, that's all that really might do. If Jinder Mahal wins the belt, they might just turn it around and then turn that into a Rumble match.
Or it's possible they could turn it into, okay, we want to put Seth Rollins in the Royal Rumble. That could be something as well. You never know.
I remember 2006 New Year's Revolution. That was back when we had the pay-per-view before Royal Rumble in the first of the year. And I remember, and also going back to not even as 2006, 2022, right? You had day one pay-per-view. You have Brock Lesnar win the belt just so Brock Lesnar can lose the belt at the Rumble and start that carousel going. Or back in 2006, for example, Edge beats John Cena, cash in Money in the Bank, wins the championship. Then it's Edge versus John Cena at the Rumble. John Cena wins it back. John Cena still goes on to WrestleMania. You know what I mean? Like, I guess it kind of creates a little bit of a short-term storytelling. Edge beats John Cena, right? Gets the championship. John Cena beats Edge, gets a championship match. John Cena versus Edge now for the rematch because Edge is a former champion, gets the rematch at No Way Out. John Cena retains, right? Then John Cena goes on to WrestleMania to fight Triple H at WrestleMania like he was going to anyways. But there's that little caveat where Edge like held the belt. There was a little hot potato with the belt, right? So, I mean, yeah, maybe Jinder Mahal beats Seth Rollins. Then we go to the Royal Rumble. Seth Rollins beats Jinder Mahal. And then somewhere along the line, because there's like 60 days between the Rumble and WrestleMania, maybe just to make a special Monday Night Raw, Jinder Mahal wants his rematch against Seth Rollins on some like in between Monday Night Raw episode that needs a little more pop and circumstance, as Seth Rollins is like on the road to WrestleMania to obviously face someone bigger and better. You know what I mean? We saw that before, that Roadblock pay-per-view a couple years ago where Triple H was a champ and then took on Jon Moxley. Like, we knew he was going to face Roman Reigns at WrestleMania, but, you know, had a defense against Jon Moxley at a TV pay-per-view pseudo house show thing. Like, that could possibly happen. But I think most importantly here with the Tony Khan situation is in WWE, we're always used to people burning bridges with Vince McMahon. Vince McMahon is the czar of WWE, the czar of professional wrestling, and so many people burning bridges with him, right? The Ultimate Warrior burning bridges with him, Bret Hart burning bridges with him. Essentially, their relationship's getting strained. A lot of times, obviously, those bridges get mended. But in this case, it's Tony Khan burning bridges with people that he might want to bring in the future, right? Obviously, with Eric Bischoff, right? It's not Eric Bischoff being stupid and Tony Khan being the billionaire and saying, no, I don't think I'm going to hire you. You're below me. I can't believe you said that stuff about our company. No, it's Eric Bischoff when Tony Khan needs to bring out a manager or a general manager for a big-time show, and he's calling up Eric Bischoff over here because he wants to bring him out of the show. And then Bischoff is going to say no to Tony Khan. Talent is going to say no to AEW instead of what it should be, AEW saying no to talent. It's players saying, no, I'm sorry, New York Yankees, I'm not interested, instead of the other way around where the Yankees say they're not interested in you, and that's where the power should lie. Vince McMahon, no one ever said no to Vince McMahon. Maybe they did because the offer just wasn't right or they just didn't get along, but no one ever said, Vince McMahon, I'm not coming to WWE because you're ridiculous, you're absurd. I think you're childish. No, that doesn't happen. You might say that happened with Sting or something like that, but for the most part, that doesn't happen. Vince McMahon holds the power. Tony Khan needs to hold the power, and I think the biggest thing here is that when you speak on behalf of yourself, you're not just making yourself look stupid. You're not just making the company look stupid. You're making all the talent who works for you look stupid
100%.
Because you're the captain of the ship. They're the ones relying on you. They're the ones that flipped off. Edge is the one that flipped off WWE, hypothetically, right, on the way out and said, I'm going to go with this ship. And then all of WWE people are looking over AEW and being like, that's your boss? Really? That's who you put your career? That's who you put the hands of your career in? Come on, seriously.
Well, dude, it's called lead by example. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, if you lead by example, like, things are going to be much better. Because I bet you, like you just said, you made a great point. I would say some of the talent are probably embarrassed by Tony Khan's outburst. Tony Khan just needs to stay, like I said earlier, he needs to stay on social media and just shut up, promote it the way you're supposed to promote it, and just almost in a sense, you act like WWE doesn't exist. You just do your own thing. Like, WWE a lot of times acts like AEW doesn't exist. They're not gonna go out of their way to promote you. So why are you gonna go out of your way to promote them? It doesn't make sense to me. So I think Tony Khan, hopefully this is a lesson learned, and maybe he can keep his head out of his rear end. But I do feel like guys, I won't mention their names, but you know how I feel about a certain dirt sheet rider. I feel like I do feel like, and they're going to deny it all the way up and down. But there's a handshake agreement where I bet you that those particular people have deals in place where Tony Khan's paying them money to shill for them on social media. I wouldn't be surprised at that at all. I mean, again, I'm not confirming or anything like that, but it wouldn't surprise me because of those dirt sheet writers. I feel like they give so much more love to AEW than they do WWE, and of course New Japan Pro Wrestling.
I can't imagine anybody's right now helping out Tony Khan. I feel like everybody is just looking at him from a distance and going, "What are you doing? You're on your own on this."
Because of those particular dirt sheet writers, I'm not even going to mention their names because y'all know who I'm talking about. They'll do anything for a payday. That's just kind of my thoughts on some of those dirt sheet writers. I feel like a lot of it's just garbage, and and I agree with Eric Bischoff. Eric Bischoff exposed them a long time ago, and like once I realized what Eric Bischoff is doing, I'm like, he's not wrong. So for me, like, I feel like if Tony Khan says, hey, if you make me look really good on social media, I'll throw you a few bucks. It wouldn't surprise me if that was happening. again, I'm not saying it is happening, but it wouldn't shock me if they had some sort of backroom deal on that. Because just the way those dirt sheet writers are with AEW, I feel like there's something going on there.
I mean, personally, I don't necessarily agree with that because I just think AEW, and that's the shame in all this, AEW is a better product than, I'm not saying it's the greatest product in the world. I mean, whatever. But I think it's a better product. It deserves better than what Tony Khan is doing. Tony Khan, thank you for creating it. Thank you for putting the money behind it. Thank you for having this alternative. Thank you for putting wrestling on another night on another national channel so that people who don't watch wrestling think it's way more popular because it's on every single channel. All of a sudden, people who think wrestling went extinct with Hulk Hogan and Stone Cold Steve Austin can't deny when they're flipping through the channels that it did not indeed do that, right? So thank you for that. But you are doing it a disservice. That's probably why he doesn't send out tweets on the Jacksonville Jaguars account and stuff like that, because that's how you're not supposed to do that nonsense. And I don't think the NFL would like that.
But to be honest, though, the Jags are owned by his dad. I mean, he's like, I mean, of course, it's part of the Khan family, but that's Shah's team. Like that's like the Jaguars are more Shah's thing. Tony obviously is part of it, obviously, because it's part of the Khan family. But I don't think Shah has. I don't think he has anything to do with AEW. Obviously, besides the financial background of the Khan family and the wealth that they have. That's why I feel like he doesn't say much with the Jaguars. I feel like his.
What is there to say, even though, right?
Well, no, I know, but I'm saying like
about the refs,
Well, I mean, it's different too because with the NFL, it is more regulated where you can get fined, you can get in trouble for it. So in the wrestling business, it's a little bit different. But I do feel like his dad kind of keeps him under wraps with that. And that would be my guess because it's really his dad's football team. And
at the end of the day, all this money does funnel up to his dad, right? So. Yeah. I understand that, he's got a portion of it that he's allowed to do with what he wants, aka AEW. But yeah, maybe his dad should be reining him in a little bit on this as well, because it's still, in the end of the day, is a lot of that money that funnels all the way to the top. But more importantly, just like I said, it also, and maybe his dad should rein him in because he's like, hey, you're my son. You're a fellow businessman. It's like Vince McMahon to Shane McMahon, right? If Shane McMahon was doing this stuff, right, and making Vince look silly, because he's Shane's son, Vince's son. Vince would even say something because it's a whole lineage. So at the end of the day, I don't think Tony Khan's going to learn his lesson because this is a long line of times he's been doing this on social media. But one thing we have learned is that he doesn't stick to his guns about anything anyways, because how many times does he talk smack about somebody and, well, then he ends up bringing him in. I think he talked pretty extensive crap about Ric Flair in the past and stuff like that. So
he's done that. He's done that with Eric Bischoff in the past, and they still do it. They still do it to this day. Don't be surprised. I mean, if the dollar amount is right, Eric Bischoff would come. I feel like he would.
It's just not helping the product. It doesn't make the product more controversial. It doesn't make it sexier. It doesn't make it more, unique or different. It's not putting eyeballs on it like from a perspective of sometimes social media does that. Controversy creates cash, like Eric Bischoff coined, right? I don't think this is that kind of controversy. It's just stupid. It's just petty. It's not putting eyeballs on your product. It's just making you look silly.